heinous creatures that lurk in the depths. When you think about the depths, your brain probably goes to the deep salt oceans. And it is true. Many heinous creatures lurk in those habitats. But what about habitats with less salt? Well, I'd argue those have produced fish more godforsaken than the rest. What am I talking about? When you think of freshwater fish, your brain probably goes to something kind of plain. Maybe a fish you would keep in an aquarium at home. An angelfish. A guppy, perhaps. You might think of freshwater ecosystems as very serene. A peaceful bliss. Well, the fish on this lineup today are gonna make you rethink all of that. They are detestable, repugnant, certified freaks. They will shake you to your core, and you will not like them. Actually, you know what? Considering how disturbed some of you bitches are, you might like all of them. But, objectively, they are heinous. You know the drill. I want to start off by talking about the freshwater space. I guess this is the general information out of the way, but it's not really information, it's just opinions and bullshit. So, question. If I were to blindfold you and drop you into a body of water in the middle of the night, would you be more freaked out by what could be around you in the ocean? Or a lake? That was a shitty setup, because you could easily say ocean. The point I was trying to make is lakes are scary. When you think about jumping into one in the middle of the night, well, I guess the thought of jumping into the ocean in the middle of the night is scary as fuck too. My point is, lakes are fucking spooky. They are creepy, and it feels like they're hiding vile secrets. Actually, my mutual has a whole ongoing series of spooky lakes. So I know I'm not alone when I say this. And they, along with rivers and other freshwater ecosystems, have produced some grotesque characters. Freshwater fish feel like misfits that got kicked out of the ocean. Fish fits. And I guess they kind of did, if you want to look at it that way. Let's get into the first one. That is the Wells catfish, also known as the sheepfish. And they are nothing short of grotesque. They get to over 8 feet long and 300 pounds. And I gotta say, that's big, but it doesn't match the intensity of the horror I feel when looking at them. To me, their aura feels much more like a 20, maybe 30 foot long fish. I would much rather see a whale shark than this. The Wells catfish is originally from Eastern Europe and Western Asia, but have since been introduced to freshwater ecosystems in Western Europe, Kazakhstan, China, Syria, Tunisia, Algeria, and Brazil, where they are certified invasive species. They are voracious, apex predators in the waters they inhabit, and will even hurl themselves out of the water to catch something on land, like a pigeon. They eat pigeons. They will eat anything suitable to fit in their gullet, and apparently, on rare occasion, human remains. Back in 1945, fish biologist E.W. Gudger published a paper titled, "Is the Giant Catfish Silurus glanus a Predator on Man?" And you already know we're gonna go the fuck through it. And by the way, I highly recommend reading it, because it is so written by someone alive in 1945. As you're reading it, you can hear the Hollywood transatlantic accent.
This citadel can and shall be taken, and I'm the boy to do it.
Like any large, elusive animal that lives in murky waters, humans have been telling stories of their heinous attacks for hundreds of years. In 1895, one author collected accounts of the catfish attacking geese and ducks, animals drinking at river and lake shores. And apparently, quote, long ago, a man standing on the shore of a lake in Sweden saw a whale seize a lamb, which was drinking at the water's edge. And in 1858, in the stomach of a large wels taken in Vienna, was a poodle dog.
Oh no. Anyway.
In 1613, there was a story of a child getting swallowed by a Wells catfish while bathing at a river. Later, a catfish from that river was caught and cut open. Inside of it were the child's remains. There's other similar stories involving infants, 7-year-olds, even the remains of full-sized adults. In Turkey, a fisherman caught a Wells catfish that apparently had the body of a woman, together with a gold ring and a purse full of money. He then goes on to explore the question, are these accounts true? And essentially answers, I don't see why not, except for the fully adult human bodies. He was skeptical of those. At one point, he writes, I have learned so much of the unusual and unexpected things that fishes do, that I am prepared for almost any behavior not physically impossible. And I think valid, and also, it sums up the paper pretty well. Take it or leave it, I guess. I don't know. I feel like there was a lot of yapping going on from like the 15 to 1800s. Probably all the rotten bread. All in all, a grotesque creature though. Now, let's move on to the next. A giant freshwater stingray. They can get to 13 feet long, 7 feet wide, and can weigh as much as a fucking grizzly bear, making them the largest freshwater fish that we know of, and are found in deep rivers in Southeast Asia. Despite their size, they are surprisingly elusive. Look at them. They look like sediment. And this is the shit I'm talking about, dude. Imagine you're in a river, moseying around. You see absolutely nothing in the water. Then suddenly you step on something slippery and flat. And bam! You get hit with a toxic barb. Because that's right, bitches, they didn't get their name for nothing. They have massive barbs on their tails that can get to over a foot long. They can whip their tails with speed and precision, and essentially liquefy the flesh at the target. Toxins enter the wound and can leave their victims in excruciating pain for days. But generally, they're pretty docile. They mind their business, hiding in the sediment. Honestly, I get it. I would do the same thing if I got stepped on, which is why I have no business stepping into a body of water like that. All right, next up is a quick one. It's a classic horrific beast, the Goliath tigerfish, also known as the monster fish of the Congo. Very well known from their debut on River Monsters. They're about 5 feet long and weigh about 100 pounds. And they have massive, conical, inch-long teeth with many gaps in between. And that's probably for the best. A full straight set would be unpleasant. They look ready to commit hijinks and tomfoolery like no David. And boy, do they. Those teeth rip chunks out of anything. Other fish, even humans apparently, and even their own brethren. Before we get into the next one, let me tell you about today's sponsor, Opera, the web browser that's completely changing how we can surf the web. This is not your average browser. It's an experience designed to make your online life faster, safer, and more enjoyable. Opera has features that put other browsers to shame with tools like the floating music player. Opera lets you manage your tunes from Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, and more. You can play or skip songs without interrupting your browsing, and it can even be used outside the browser, eliminating the need for multiple tabs. And speaking of multiple tabs, sometimes you can have very many multiple tabs. It's confusing and all tangled up. It's the worst. Opera has a tab traces feature that lets you keep track of tabs you recently went to or are going back and forth between. Kind of like temporary footprints, which is super helpful to stay organized. And if you want to keep a lot of tabs open, you can organize them really well with tab islands. Group your tabs based on context, like shopping or travel, and collapse them when you're not using them. My personal favorite feature is split screen, which lets you work on 2 documents side by side in the same window. Perfect for researching and fact checking, and I can also think of a ton of different uses, like if you stream or having things up during a video call. You can even further customize beyond workflow just for things to look nice. Opera has different themes like Classic, Aurora, and Midsummer. There are different animated backgrounds, custom UI colors, and even browser sounds. It's very cool and also very sick. So experience the future of browsing for yourself. Check out the link in the description and download the latest version. Let me know what you think. I think you're gonna love it. Now, on to the next fish on the list. A parasitic fish with a sickening reputation. I'm only warning you once. This one is the worst. You will feel things physically in a bad way. The candiru, catfish found in South America that get to about 2 inches long. At first glance, these tiny fish seem harmless, interested in nothing but minding their own business. That is far from the case. This fish is also known as the urethra fish, due to the heinous rumor that it swims up human urethras. I am unfortunately gonna break it down. The candiru is not a specialized urethra predator. Instead, their meal of choice is the blood of larger fish. They typically access it through the larger fish's gills, swimming up into them, latching on with their needle-like teeth and spines that shoot out and keep them in place, and feeding for somewhere between 30 to 145 seconds. They go limp, like sick freaks, and fill themselves up with blood. Once they're done, they head out, and their victims are left with deep, elliptical-shaped wounds. Sometimes so deep they leave marks of their visit on the bones of these fish. They are 2-inch-long weapons of mass destruction, so that's their typical meal. And of course, they have unknowingly left a mark on humans throughout the years. They don't know any better. They're 2-inch-long fish. But back between the 18th and 20th centuries, much more heinous encounters started being recorded by European explorers in the Amazon, talking to locals about stories of these fish, which all describe entering urethras. People pee in bodies of water. According to these accounts, the fish would mistake urine streams for water exhaled from a fish's gills and swim against the flow, lodging itself inside the tiny hole. Some stories even mentioned them launching themselves out of the water to jam themselves in with those spines. Just disgusting. Just horrific to think about. Without any hard evidence of this happening, of course there's always been skepticism. But back in those days, the rumors were so heinous that researchers suggested giving them the scientific name Urinophilus diabolicus. I'll give you a second to figure it out. Yeah, the devilish urine lover. To this day, there's only one actual documented case of this happening, back in 1997. But that one is even still uncertain. Inconsistencies in the story. Seems actually physically impossible to happen. So, for now, we assume these are just slanderous rumors. Regardless, I have no interest in being anywhere near that fish. The last one on the list is an extremely specialized fish. Technically, it's not a fish. But on the other hand, technically, it is a fish. The Amazon river dolphin, not a fish. But if you go back far enough, 400 million years, fish, just like us. Fish, stupid. I know, but I wanted to include them on the list because, in my eyes, when you think of freshwater freaks, my brain immediately goes to them. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know a lot about river dolphins in general before this video. I just knew the Amazon river dolphin looked like that. I was planning to go pretty hard on them, but the more I learned, the more I liked them. And now I kind of feel bad. Sure, you could say they're too pink. You know, they have too much skin. They look decrepit. I don't know. They kind of grew on me. I think of them as less heinous than before. And I think that's a really important lesson, that ignorance breeds hate. Let this be example. Let me and the Amazon river dolphins be a story of triumph with that. Amazon river dolphin quick facts. They get to about 8 feet long and live in, you guessed it, the Amazon River. Their coloration is somewhere on the gray to pink spectrum. Ones in murkier waters looking pinker than the ones in clear waters. Why? Their capillaries are closer to the surface of their skin, hence the coloration. And I guess clear waters means the sun can hit their skin easier and diminish their lovely bright hue. As you can see, their forehead is a bulbous lump, housing a large melon used for echolocation, much more helpful in murkier waters than their beady ass eyes. They also have very large flippers that can move independently. They can rotate their heads 180 degrees, making them much more maneuverable than their open ocean brethren. It seems as though river dolphins have been around since the middle Miocene. Sea levels were much higher and they might have inhabited shallow seas that eventually became waterways as sea levels lowered. Then they kind of just stayed. So as you would probably guess, not all river dolphins are related. It seems as though this kind of development just happened many times. And today there are 4 species exclusively found in freshwater. Amazon river dolphin, obviously. La Plata river dolphins, which get to 6 feet long. The Indus river dolphin, which get to 8 feet long and are blind. And the Yangtze river dolphin, which is most likely extinct. There are a couple saltwater dolphins that have some freshwater populations too, like the Irrawaddy dolphin and the Australian snubfin. I fuck with the shape of their heads a lot. I like what they got going on. Like many marine mammals, the river dolphins are pretty much all endangered, including our newly beloved Amazon river dolphins. So I wanted to highlight one group working to help save them from extinction, the Omacha Foundation. They've been around for about 30 years and have been working to protect Amazon river dolphins in a variety of ways, like health assessments, which help identify current and future threats and gather genetic information. They track their movements to study their habitat preferences. They focus on community-based conservation efforts. They set up tour guide programs that use wooden boats instead of fast boats that could harm the dolphins in the rivers. If you want to learn more about their work, you can check them out at omacha.org, where you can also donate to help protect the dolphins in their Amazon habitats. And if you like this video, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next long-form video. Check out my Patreon to keep up with behind-the-scenes updates in our Discord server. And for now, stay curious. The world has a lot for us to learn. See ya!